am going to. Lovely. Welcome everybody to the Seal Alliance Strategy Group SharePoint session for 2023. It's always a lovely highlight for us for the month, for the year, I should say. So, and we've got lots of lovely speakers, so I'm going to move on fairly swiftly because we've all got to keep to time. So as you can see, we've got people right across England and Wales speaking tonight, which is really wonderful. They're all inspiring people, and it's great to have them visiting us and joining us, which is fabulous. Okay, I'm just going to move that over there. Gareth, we should have 5 people in the waiting room, if you can see them. Can you see them?
Yeah.
Lovely. And yeah, I've pressed record. Each speaker is going to have 7 minutes. However, if they take a little bit longer, it won't be the end of the world, but I will have to cut everyone off at 9 minutes. Otherwise, we will run out of time for the last speakers, which isn't fair. And I would quite like to have a little bit of time as well for questions and answers at the end. So welcome. My name is Sue Sayer, and a little bit more about the MBE in a minute. And I'm the founder and director of the Seal Research Trust, which is based in Cornwall. Before we start with our speakers, I just want to give you a little bit of an update, because you all know that we've been working to make seal disturbance illegal. You may have heard that the EFRA committee, who we thought we were that close with, its recommendations were rejected, and the government have made a statement to say that they won't be adopting those recommendations. It's complicated and I can't say too much about it, but we're working quite closely with DEFRA to see what's possible with that, because obviously we don't want it to be the end of the story. It's just the next step, really. So please do watch this space, and rest assured that we aren't stopping trying to make seal disturbance illegal. It's just work in progress. Okay, I'm delighted to say as well that Gareth arranged for 3 marine people to get expert witness training, and this is my certificate to say I am now an expert witness. But what's great is these are the first 3 marine people to be expert witness trained if any cases go to court. Right, I'm going to pass over to Nina Jones from Kent Wildlife Trust, and hopefully I will be able to time the slides and realise when you need me to move on. If not, just say. Thanks, Nina. Over to you.
No worries. I'm having one of those weeks as well, Sue, so we'll give this a go. Hi, everyone. So my name's Nina Jones, and I'm just going to do a quick chat about seal disturbance and some of the mitigation that we've been doing on the northeast Kent coast. So that's me, in case you can't see my face. So yeah, just a quick intro, and then onto some of the negatives, some of the positives, and what we're going to aim for in the future. So quick introduction to my role. I'm Protected Area Warden of a specific NNR, which is the largest in Kent. It includes coastal, various coastal landscapes, including salt marsh, and we have a small river, the River Stour, that comes out into our bay. Which means we've got some lovely areas of quite remote salt marsh and mudflats that we have quite a large colony of harbour seals that are part of the Thames estuary seals that like to haul out in this space. My main focus isn't necessarily on just individually on seal disturbance. I did think the majority of my time would be spent dealing with bird disturbance, but we get as much seal disturbance as we do bird disturbance on this reserve, and I've tried to kind of spread my time around a little bit and also kind of focus on other areas around the Kent coast where we've had reports of seal disturbance come in as well. Thanks, Sue. So just a quick introduction into the specific area that these mainly harbour seals are using. We do get the odd grey seal, particularly over winter as well, when we have grey seals mating in Kent. So it's a really small river estuary. It's only 20 to 30 metres wide. We're very lucky in that it's very tricky to get there by foot, so we don't have a huge amount of disturbance from people. It's not a beach as such, and there's some quite deep mud that you'd have to wade across to try and get there. So it's very rare that we get people bothering seals by land. It tends to be by water. So that's jet skis, motorboats, and the odd paddler as well. Thanks, Sue. A quick kind of idea of sort of the amount of disturbance that we've been getting. So that's in well, that's up till October this year, actually. So it's not as extensive as you might get on some parts of the coast, but we're talking here about a very specific area, so a couple of miles across. The river is a particularly busy river. We have 6 seal tour boat companies that have, I think, 10 boats between them that can visit at one time, which is a huge amount of possible disruption to the seals when they're hauling out. In the summer, we're very lucky that we don't get a lot of tour boat visits during the winter. And we've been trying to engage with the tour boats, and a lot of them do a very good job at what they do, and they do try and follow best practice. But there is an amount of disturbance caused by them, by jet skis and other motorized craft, and a very little amount by paddlers. Again, we're quite lucky that it's quite a long way to paddle out to these seals. So we don't get too much of that. We've had some quite recently, but I've been able to engage with the companies that caused the disturbance, and they were quite positive and proactive in trying to engage with me and learn best practice, which was great. So just some of the kind of things that I've been trying to work on, and we're starting here, you know, we don't have a big marine team in Kent Wildlife Trust, really kind of starting from a ground level and trying to see what we can do stage by stage and kind of where problems arise. So one of my main aims is in the past year has been trying to collaborate with water users. There are a lot of different authorities that have some responsibility for management, including river management, which is a separate entity to the councils that can get involved with managing some of the waters around the NNR. We also have a marine protected area within our NNR at Pegwell and Sandwich. So there is an amount of protection, but it's all in terms of voluntary regulations, really. We're very, very lucky that we do have one PSPO, which you might know about. It's a bylaw. Lots of people don't know about these, or they might not look into the details, but when we looked into the details of one, we found that this bylaw actually had a clause within it that suggested that water users shouldn't cause harm to people or wildlife. And that is very rare for a PSPO, which is they're usually aimed at antisocial behaviour. That gives us just a little bit of backing when we're asking local authorities and enforcement officers to take some interest in the disturbance that we're getting in the river. We've had varying degrees of amount of success with dealing with the different water users. Some people are very they want to do the best. They want to give their clients the best view of the seals undisturbed. Others don't quite have that mindset and sort of just hope that balance will happen. It doesn't work like that. We need better education, but we need people to understand that without large marine mammals there, the ecosystem is upset, and that we're in a biodiversity crisis. So we're kind of trying to explore the bigger picture here on some of our water users. So varying amounts of success. We've had a big stakeholder meeting, which is the first time it's ever happened in Kent with North East Kent marine water users, and we will see whether we want to do that next year or not. But it certainly was good to get everybody in one room. Thanks, Sue. We've been making some new signage. So we have a very good area for being able to see the seals. You can see them with the naked eye or binoculars from an area of the coast path where you can't access the seals. There's barbed wire fences and the salt marsh in between, and there is no access prohibition on entering that area. So we actually decided that we're going to change from not telling anyone where you can see these seals to suggesting that you can see them from the coast path. And then we have a sign. We're going to have this lovely new sign in front of us here, as well as we have the Seal Research Trust sign already stapled to a fence line as well, so that we're able to give people more information, and they'll be able to log disturbance that will go, and their reports will come directly to me using this sign. We don't tell people specifically where this area is, but we say from the coast path, and people are already spreading via word of mouth that you can come and see the seals from the land. You don't need to get on the water to go and see them. Some of the other resources we're making: leaflets, new downloadable posters. Anyone can download those from our website. You just have to follow the how to watch seals safely webpage on the Kent Wildlife Trust webpage. There's one for paddlers, one for visitors, and one for boat owners as well. Lots of community engagement, lots of guided walks. These are aimed at watching all kinds of different wildlife, but we always highlight the seals as well. And we're getting really positive feedback from people who've heard that they're in the area, but they haven't seen them, and they're getting to see them safely from a distance. And it gives us lots of opportunity to engage with them so that they recognise disturbance, they understand what seal disturbance looks like as a basic, and then they are encouraged to go on to actually report seal disturbance in other places. It might not just be the area that I manage, but around the coastline, and I will then do my best to get in touch with the right people to try and see if we can make some impact in that area too. Do lots of beach cleans as well. I have a local newsletter, so there's lots of information going out to people in different ways. We've been really keen to push on disturbance incidents on local and national media. I'm really lucky to have a good PR team. So there's been videos and other kind of blog reports and things like that about some of the severe incidents that we've had, where we have had a couple of mass disturbance incidents where we have had seals crash dive from the mudflats and stampede into the sea. We have a lovely group of volunteers as well. So they are sort of my ambassadors as such. They help me to keep an eye on the area. Lots of them are local because it's wonderful to get the community that are already passionate about the seals and frustrated at seeing things involved in keeping an eye out and reporting disturbance to me. Thanks, Sue. Lots of data collection, reporting to the councils, reporting to steering groups. That's really, really important. And there's data that I can share with people if they need more information on that as well. I think that's, and Operation Seabird, we managed to happen in Kent for the first time. So that was wonderful news. We'll try and get that to happen again next year. If we can get some, just putting together the right people is really, really tricky, but hopefully we'll get some dates set and some more media about that as well.
Lovely, thanks, Nina. We're at 9 minutes, so I'm going to ask you to stop there if that's okay. But you've obviously got some future plans, which is brilliant, so well done. It helps if I come off mute to try and tell my speakers that they are at time up, so never mind. Thank you very much, Nina. That was a great start. Okay, Gareth, over to you.
Okay, you can move the slides on whenever you want to. So, yeah, thanks a lot. You know, I find it hard to believe 12 months has gone past since we actually sort of sat here. Time goes so quickly. But thanks, Nina, for that. Next slide, please. Just to remind everybody where we are located, you can probably tell by my accent, is that we are located in South Wales, on the beautiful Gower Peninsula. The peninsula actually juts into the Bristol Channel and towards the Celtic Sea and the North Atlantic. So you can imagine the types of weather that we actually sort of get here. Next slide, Sue. Yeah, Nina mentioned earlier on about sort of engagement, and really, you know, from the very start, we've been going for just under 2.5 years now. We've been sort of reaching out and trying to sort of engage people and groups, and as Nina said, about engaging sort of companies and getting people on board with us, really, because it's so important to bring the public along with us. And I must be honest here, we found it quite easy, really, because once you start to attend these events or give talks and the ball is rolling, it's about keeping that momentum sort of going there. Next slide, Sue. But, you know, at the very center of everything that we do, everything that we talk about, every event that we go to, at the very center is the Give Seal Space sort of campaign. And we have focused very much on sort of educating and sort of giving information out as well, because, you know, we all know on this call that, you know, disturbance, so the majority of disturbance tends to be unintentional. It's people who don't realize that their behavior is causing a few concerns. And if we can get that information out as much as we can, and by doing this, for example, this time last year when I sat talking to you, we'd actually done 31 presentations. This year we've done 48. And by the end of the year, it will be well into the 50s, believe it or not, even though it's 5 weeks left before Christmas. We've engaged with over 1,500 people, and that does not count schools or the clubs or Scout associations. So yeah, I mean, we're really pleased with that. Next slide, Sue. But one of the successes I just wanted to mention here really is that I'm part of the Swansea Local Nature Partnership, and a couple of months back, it was our first face-to-face meeting, not on Zoom, where we all actually sort of got together for the quarterly meeting, and I was lucky actually to sit next to this lady, and we started speaking. And I found out she was an ecologist employed by Network Rail. And I didn't, to be honest, I didn't even know that they employed sort of ecologists and had environmental departments as well. But anyway, the bottom line is this. As a result of that conversation, and like the saying said, it's always good to talk, every coastal railway station in Wales will now display the Give Seal Space leaflets, and also the flying ring signage that we've actually sort of got as well. So I was so pleased about that. She's actually circulated and spoken to the station managers in each of the sort of coastal railway stations. So that's something that you may well consider in your own sort of respective areas. Next slide, Sue. But of course, you know, our Flying Rings campaign, really, I mean, that sort of runs parallel with our sort of Give Seal Space as well. And, you know, we are trying to do as much as we can. There's been sort of mixed results. You know, there's been some success, and there's been some sort of disappointments. But I suppose the disappointments really make me sort of more determined. One of the things I just want to mention is that I've looked at targeting where the users can be, certainly on sort of Gower. It's a very, very popular area for visitors. So I've been able to get into a few caravan and motorhome and camping sites as well, where I've given sort of outdoor presentations. And I gave one to a local caravan and motorhome club site. And whilst I was talking, I did see two little girls actually leave their sort of chairs and walk away. I just thought they got bored more than anything else. But actually, what they actually did, they went back to their sort of caravans and they got their flying rings, came up to me and handed them to me and said, "We don't want them anymore because they hurt seals." Well, I was choked. Honestly, it was absolutely fantastic. So, you know, what Nina mentioned earlier on about sort of engaging with the public, you have to get out there and talk to people. So I was really sort of pleased with that heartwarming gesture. One other thing that I'm looking to do, and I'll just mention this very, very quickly because it's very sort of early days yet. I'm trying to get the local authority local here to ban the use of flying rings on the beaches. I know that's been successful in the Norfolk area, and I know that Jenny Hobson, one of our speakers, a little bit later on, will be talking about that, I think. But Jenny has been extremely helpful for me as well, and sent me a huge amount of information that I've got to sort of pour over to really create a strategy here for Swansea Council. The Swansea Council have, you know, banned dogs on beaches at certain times of the year. They've also banned the releasing of balloons locally as well. So perhaps that's just one step I can take a little bit to see if they've got the appetite of banning these. Next step too. But of course, word gets around, and I had probably about 2 months back, I had an email from the series producer of ITV Wales Coast and Country, which basically is the Welsh version of BBC Countryfile. But they came down, and Sean Fletcher, as you can see there, who was a Countryfile presenter, and we spent a good half a day sort of filming on sort of Gower, and that's going to be broadcast. So get your diaries out ready. That's going to be broadcast at 7 o'clock on Friday, the 1st of December. And I am available for any sort of autograph, or book signings, if anything comes out of it. But no, it was absolutely fantastic, actually, just to be able to work with people who were very keen as well to promote the Flying Wings campaign. And in fact, not to spoil it for you, but they are interviewing one of the owners, Tracy, who I first approached, and she's the owner of a caravan site, and she immediately took the Flying Wings off the shelves for sale. So they will be interviewing her as well. Next, final slide, too.
Sorry.
But I just wanted to thank at the end of the day, and I just want to thank all the members of the Seal Alliance, really, for supporting one another. And in amongst that as well, I would just like to sort of give my thanks to Sue as well, because of her commitment that she sort of shown to us as well. And it's made our job a lot easier to give our seals a voice throughout the UK and beyond as well. So thank you, Sue, and thank you to all the members of the Seal Alliance as well. And that's it, Sue. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Excellent. So we're going, oh, it's me next. Okay, I still need to set my timer. Here we go. Okay, so Whistle Stop Tour, we're grateful to the public, private and voluntary people who fund us, because without them we wouldn't be able to support our volunteers as well. We've got a few news headlines. So you may have heard that I got an MBE in January. My date for my investiture is the 12th of December, very easy to remember, 12/12. And I've got ridiculous outfit to wear, it's outrageous. It's my favourite artist is Van Gogh. And I think his work is very prophetic, because it speaks of the planetary turmoil that we now find ourselves in terms of climate change and marine plastics. And I have a head full of marine plastics, including my first seal that was ever ID'd, chairlift. And so he's made out of fishing gear, and I've got pyroplastics on my head as well. So I will look utterly ridiculous, but hopefully the media will pick up on me. Our latest version of the book was printed in 2023 as well. We were commissioned by Natural England to write 2 big reports, as you can see, one about other species in our birds, other species on our boat surveys, but also a key report about our Seal Southwest network, which gives Natural England, but not publicly, all the sensitive seal sites and all the data that we have for the last 10 years, showing how important these sites are. We also collaborated with the Sea Mammal Research Unit, who were doing aerial surveys across the southwest and actually the east coast and Wales for the first time as well. And we asked if we could have flight plans, and we did get a flight plan for the first set of first day, and we managed to get our volunteers out to ground truther surveys in agreement with the Sea Mammal Research Unit. We're very worried about surveys being conducted in August, because that's when we have the fewest seals and we get an awful lot more seals in the winter. And unfortunately, the aerial surveys that they did missed 2 of our sites completely. So not only will be a low count because it's August, but they completely missed 2 of our sites and undercounted at some of the other sites as well. So out of the 8 sites, we had a total undercount of 72 seals. We've been working with the University of Bristol on some seal detector software, which will help, hopefully in the future, people to count seals automatically. And we're hugely grateful to all the volunteers and all the students. There were lots of them who took part in the project, and everyone received a certificate for taking part. Watch this space on that. You will have heard me talk before about pupping season moving earlier and our haul outs moving earlier. But I just wanted to tell you about 2 seal mums that we've tracked. We've got data for shed loads more, but haven't looked at it. 2 of our seal mums have pupped on average 4 days earlier over the last 6 years on average. So they're moving individually forward as well. It's quite interesting to talk about the mechanisms of how that works, but I don't have time tonight. So a few seal stories. Key is a seal who's only ever seen on the Lizard since 2014, and then all of a sudden, bizarrely, she came all the way around Land's End and had a week's holiday up on the north coast, bless her, and then she went back. But to show you how systematic and seasonally consistent seal movements can be, this is Yogi, also from the Lizard. He leaves the south coast between the 17th of August and the 27th of August each of the years. He goes to the north coast and arrives between the 21st of August and the 21st of September. He last sighted on the north coast the 24th of September to the 9th of October, and he returns back to Lizard South between the 14th and the 27th of October. Those are very systematically repeated visits and shows how consistent some of our seals can be, although they do change with life stage. I wanted to alert people as well that sometimes seals put in strange disappearing acts. So this particular ex-netty disappeared for 2 years, 2007-8, and then disappeared for 2 years, 2020, 2021. And you'll be forgiven for thinking she was dead, but no, she's not. She's just doing something different. And then these 6 females here who we know are over 20 years old, we looked at their individual identification records, and we discovered they're all very fluctuating over the years. But some of the seals, like the blue seal, we see less than we used to. And other individual seals, like the orange one, we see more than we used to. So it's very interesting to see how complex individual changes with individual seals are. On to issues. I've got 4 that I'm going to go through. Obviously, we have heart-stopping moments when seals start interacting with fishing gear live or lost gear. Fortunately, that one got off scot-free. Dan, unfortunately, is not able to be with us tonight, but he led an epic rescue with British Divers Marine Life Rescue of this iconic seal, Wings. She actually went viral and had over 1 million hits on one of the stories, but she was rescued, which is the important thing of all. But of course, not all the seals are as lucky as she was, and we're unfortunately still hoping to rescue poor Commuter. And then Wings had another shock later in the year. Within a few weeks, she got hooked in the harbour. This is why we always say, please don't feed seals in harbours, because they live in a dangerous place. And this is one of the issues that they face. I'm pleased to say the hook has now gone, but the scar is still there. Looking at disturbance, this is the top graph here shows you the trend that we have in seal disturbance, serious seal disturbance over the years. And this is Cornwall Wildlife Trust marine strandings data for dead seals. And what's interesting is both are increasing, and there are 2 peak years, 2019-2021 and 2019-2021, which has led us to speculate that maybe disturbance does have an impact on mortality. And if you think about it, with molted pups and juveniles where energy balance is key, that could actually be having a life-threatening impact. Some examples, so this is a steel stampede because of cliff-top onlookers, particularly with dogs. This one is a sea-based disturbance, so seals being flushed off an offshore island by kayakers. And this is an accident waiting to happen for humans. This person who had a drone out wasn't even watching the drone as she landed it and could have injured any of those people that stood next to her. We don't actually know if she caused any disturbance, but she was breaking the law in 4 different ways just by flying the drone in that way. Climate change impacts, well, you can read this if you want to look at the presentation later, but warming seas, extreme weather, ground swells, toxic algal blooms, rising sea levels, and increasing rates of coastal erosion, as well as hammering rain and hailstorm adding to disturbance, are all the kinds of impacts. So looking at what we've been doing about this, we'll take 3 examples. Delighted to say one of our volunteers wrote to this boat operator in June, and by July, look how much further away that operator was. We're really proud of this. So we're trying to push the practice up to meet the DEFRA Marine and Coastal Wildlife Code best practice. We work with governing bodies and representative bodies. You'll see Gareth there, look, with the Coast Watch, basically to try and get them to send our messaging out. And we also work with landowners, and I'm delighted to say the National Trust in particular are excellent at this, but there are other landowners involved to manage people around seals. And we do have free leaflets and a free video that you can look at. In fact, 2 versions of the video, one for the public and one to put a call in to say more pups are getting into trouble than ever before thanks to climate change, so we need more rehab space. If you want free copies of this leaflet to distribute, you just need to email us. And if you ever get a carbon dioxide removal, ocean alkalinity enhancement project, which is a geoengineering project on your patch, they're going to be all over the UK at some point soon, particularly in the marine environment. Please don't be scared about asking us about it, because we've learned an awful lot. I've got over 2,000 files on my computer about this project, and we've managed to make sure that the right authorities are getting the right information, because the UN have written a report about this, and the International Maritime Organization have written a report, and they all say there isn't enough evidence to show this is safe. Events and resources, we've done a Septimus exhibition for several months on the Isle of Wight, loads of public events. I do school talks for free online. I've just done one for 63 6-year-olds in Atlanta in Georgia in the USA. Thanks to Emily for our fabulous Greta, Gracie and Grayson seal resources. They're very popular. But please remember that every decision and purchase we make is a vote for our children's future planet. Every single decision that we make. We've got a Christmas Jumblebee to fundraise if you're interested. The link is there. We've got a one-stop online Sealy shop. When you spend money here, you get a gift. Our makers, local makers, earn a living. We train the marine conservation leaders of the future, and seals get supported. So you're multitasking with your money. And thanks to all our utterly amazing volunteers, we wouldn't be anywhere without them. Okay, that's me done. Naughty, 19 seconds over 9 minutes. John Arnott, are you there?
I am, Sue. Sue,
Go
can I share screen? Do you mind? Because
No,
my
it's fine.
presentation is actually shorter than the one.
That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, okay.
Let me make you a co-host. No, let me make you a co-host. Just a minute. There we go. Thank you, John. You did say that, and I forgot. Off you go.
Have you got that then? Okie doke. So
no, we can't see it, John. No,
you can't.
No.
I've got share screen.
You choose the option.
There we go. Oh, I see. Yeah. There we go. Share.
Lovely. We can see it now. Thank you.
Lovely. Good. Just get that up. That's it. Right. So I chose the bank holiday in August to carry out a disturbance survey of seals by watercraft in Chichester Harbour. So we've been concerned about the number of boats visiting the main seal haul out anyway in Chichester Harbour. If you're not sure where we are, that's we're on the south coast, just off the Isle of Wight there. Chichester Harbour itself is an area of outstanding natural beauty. Around 12 miles, just over 12 square miles, I should say, is water. But there are some 12,000 plus boats that use it over the summer period. There are 14 sailing clubs and 7 marinas. So it's pretty busy on the boating side. The main haul out is in Allrythe, as you can see there, just off the southwest shore of Thorney Island. This is Allrythe itself, the main haul out. It's also a pupping site in the summer for harbour seals. And of course, it's in June and July where we get most boats on the water. It's the school holiday period. I've got a survey viewpoint you can see marked by the star up in near the top right corner. I've got access to that by car. I've got quite a lot of equipment to carry. The whole island is actually run by the MOD, and you need permission to access it by car. But there is a footpath running around the edge of the island which people can use. But you can see from this slide here that there's quite a lot of mud between the footpath and the seals. So most of the all of the visits to the seals are by boat. Nobody can approach them over the land. The seals typically haul out distribute themselves in the locations I've shown. And there is one area that's a little bit hidden from my viewpoint. I've marked that with a sort of grey rectangle there, just because it's I can't see down into the Rythe from my viewpoint. It's about half a mile from the entrance to the Rythe to where the Rythe splits. So it's about half a mile. The seals distribute themselves along that half-mile distance. But from my viewpoint, they're nearly half a mile away. So I do need a telescope to observe the seal reactions. I've got a camera with a zoom out to 200 millimeters. So that gives me some reasonable close-ups. And the peak counts of seals in Allrythe during this last summer were, as you can see for yourself there, 38 harbour seals, 22 grey seals. And there's just one of each there in the photograph. So we do get both species of seal in Allrythe. The seal responses to disturbance are the ones that Seal Alliance uses, and I've just really simplified it in this very simple table here. There's level 1 is actually quite a lot of nuanced behaviour to observe there, but I've just put a very simple version of it here. For each visit, I spent 4.5 to 5 hours. and had 3 forms to fill out. So 3 days of the bank holiday weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, that's 9 forms worth of data. And I've tried to summarize it all in this very simple table here. The number of visits by watercraft you can see on each day along the top line there, and the actual number of watercraft themselves on the second line. And some watercraft will arrive in groups. So on the photograph in the background here, we've got one of the paddle company, in fact, the only paddle company that operates in Chichester Harbour, taking people out to see the seals, called Fluid Adventures. And they stay very, well, as far away as possible. The only fault I can really find with them is that they do stop right opposite the hall out here, but otherwise they do their absolute utmost to avoid disturbing the seals. The one paddler you can see in the middle, I don't think was associated with that company. Mixed in with the company, by the way, is a pedalo. You won't be able to pick him out very easily, but he's nothing to do with them. He actually stayed for very nearly 3 hours in all rise, but was very quiet, kept his distance, and didn't actually cause very much disturbance at all. Just 1 or 2 individuals reacted to him. I've been using the data sheets. I've been able to draw up these timelines for each day. It looks rather complicated, but at least I can separate out here the different types of craft down the left-hand side. This is actually clock time along the bottom, and the 3 levels of disturbance, so there's a key at the bottom there, are indicated. Here are the 2 groups of paddle company visits, and so they've kind of grouped together there. A couple of individual paddle boarders came in together there. The line denoting the amount of disturbance is even if only 1 seal was disturbed, that upped that visit to whatever level of disturbance it was. So it doesn't mean that all seals were disturbed. So if you look at the rib over on the right side here, 6 level 3, 4 14 level 2, 4 level 1, and 30 level 0, where there was no visible change in behaviour. So it's quite a complex timeline to look at. That's just one. A lot of craft did pass up the Rythe, not into the Rythe, passed up the channel that the Rythe opens out from, and relatively few of them actually go in to view the seals. So the orange blocks here indicate craft that actually enter or Rythe. Most of the yachts, for example, just have 2 deeper draft with their keels to be able to access the Rythe. So relatively few yachts go in there. I've tried to show the amount of maximum disturbance carried out by each watercraft as it entered the Rythe over the 3 days. And you can see there that 11, as far as I could tell, it caused no visible change in seal behaviour, but 11 started to look alert, 2 moved around, and 6 on 6 occasions the seals actually entered the water. So it's about 63, just over 63% of visits caused some disturbance to the seals. Looking at the type of craft, it's quite clear, looking at this chart here, that most of the disturbance was caused by ribs and motorboats privately owned. The tour boats that use the Chichester Harbour with seal visits cause relatively little disturbance, although they could, I think, improve their act a little bit. And I have some ideas for that, which I'll show you in this last slide. So I've just illustrated 3 examples here. So there's a private rib on the top, causing a level 3 disturbance there on the left, and the 2 main tour companies taking people out. The one on the right will take up to 12 people on the bottom right. The one on the left takes up to 10 people. It's called sailing therapy, and it takes people with learning difficulties out to enjoy the countryside and improve their sensory experience. So as a result of that, I just have a couple of proposals to make for my own action. I am actually asking Chichester Harbour Conservancy, and I think there is support for this, to send out the Seal Code of Conduct that they use with the Harbour Dues mailing in the spring. So that's to all people that use the harbour for their boats. And secondly, I'd like to have a closer interaction with the couple of tour boats that use Chichester Harbour. I think I really ought to go out with them. And I'd like to invite them to become involved with seal disturbance recording as well by other craft. These boats go out fairly regularly, and so they could contribute a lot to our own data recording on disturbance. And I also think that I would like to provide the tour boats with some basic fact sheets about the seals, because I'm not sure that very much information is given across to their customers, but I need to work on that. So Sue, that's it. That's my little contribution.
Well done. That's really excellent. Well done indeed. Okay, next up. So I will start sharing my screen, and Sal, you are going to be next. So here we go, hun. There we go.
Okay. My name's Sal. I'm from St Mary's Island Wildlife Conservation Volunteer. I'm one of the founding volunteers. The whole group is made up completely of volunteers. We now have over 40 very trained volunteers working on our site. So I'm just going to do a quick summary of how and why things have changed on our site, and then leave you with what we hope to achieve in the near future or the future, depending on, but we hope to achieve it. If you go back a bit, so go back to the one you were on, so doesn't really matter, you can stay on this. So 10 years ago, a few people from our community, we came together because, like most of the people on this session today, we felt that the wildlife, especially the grey seals using our coast, really got the raw end of the deal, and that we knew things could be better. So next slide. So with no budget or authority, our only tool was the opportunity to speak to fellow visitors, which there are plenty of on our site. So our coast is where human recreational activity and that delicate natural environment often collide. It's easily accessible, and it is probably one of the busiest tourist destinations that we have in our county. And our aim is a simple one, which is to ensure that the wildlife on our local nature reserve, which actually makes up around 17% of our county's coastline, is dedicated to this single coastal nature reserve. We wanted to make sure that the wildlife that was there could make use of their habitat without intrusion from visitor pressure and recreational activity. Next slide. So there is a precarious balance between visitors wanting to enjoy wild spaces. I know Nina mentioned balance. I think we're all trying to find this balance. So that balance between visitors wanting to enjoy the wild space and the well-being of the wildlife needing this space. And when we started in 2014, this was the unquestioned norm. Next slide. So on our site, we have we do our best really to create a balance which works for the wildlife. And we do this really by proactively influencing change. That's changing people's aspirations of how they interact with the wildlife. We try and influence change amongst people that actually kind of are responsible for the management of the site. So it's on multiple levels that we try and influence that change really. And we try and improve the understanding of the wildlife that we have. And the understanding of disturbance and the understanding of the impact of disturbance. And slowly but surely, we have tipped the balance more in the favour of wildlife than I think it has ever been before. So that is our greatest achievement, really. Next slide. So observations, recording data and knowledge of our site, along with years of experience of experiment has demonstrated that focusing on maintaining an area where wildlife is sheltered from human activity is the only way to achieve our aim. We do lots of awareness raising, but sadly, relying totally on the goodwill of people is not a safe way to protect wildlife. So we have found that we were lucky enough that working with our local authority, we were in the end able to show the need to have a wildlife sensitive area, a wildlife refuge area, an area where the visitors, which we have many of, are asked to not go into this particular part of the nature reserve. But to ensure that this wildlife area is protected, even today, we do provide up to 25 hours of face-to-face engagement with the visitors per day in peak season. So that's 25 hours a day that we have volunteer time on there. We are realistic, and we know that while things might have improved, without that face-to-face engagement, they would quickly deteriorate, unfortunately, while we wait for there to be better legislation to protect these. We commit to that time. And this has really been done by a completely amazing team of volunteers, really, who we would not have achieved what we have without them. Next slide. So people see the big red zone and they think this means people aren't allowed to enjoy the wildlife, but completely the opposite, actually. People can still enjoy the wildlife, which there is now more of. It's just done in a managed way. And raising awareness and supporting visitors to carefully enjoy the coast and its wildlife is the very foundation of our work. Next one. So today, with better management, over 10 years, with better management, a protected wildlife refuge area and increased awareness, disturbance from land on this haul out has reduced. And where we once saw a single seal crowded by visitors, we now see a stable and thriving haul out, which is proof that giving seals space works for seals. Next slide. But haul outs are complex environments where these semi-aquatic animals connect their terrestrial and their aquatic habitats. And there are still too many myths regarding human interaction with seals in the water. There is still unmovable bad practice, and we cannot in all faith say we have addressed the problem of disturbance without also reducing water-based disturbance. And this is where we move into the future. So next slide. So on land, we're all quite familiar with that, that seals come onto land and they congregate and they spend time resting, digesting food, molting, breeding. But in the waters on the fringe of any haul out, seals can be seen feeding, they can be seen resting, and they can be seen carrying out these really complex and important social interaction with each other, which are also essential biological functions. Yet disturbance to seals in water is still rarely acknowledged. Seals changing their behaviour in water is seen as coincidental, and even it's seen as the seal's choice. So next slide. We're probably all familiar with this sort of water disturbance, which is where people have approached close to a haul out, usually coming to the site with that very intention of getting as close as they feel is suitable, really, and that can vary massively. And then the next slide shows what we kind of all know happens, which is this familiar sequence of events with the seals becoming more and more vigilant, increasing amount of them looking up, paying attention to the in this case the kayaks passing by. And the next slide, Sue. And then finally, the seals start to move and the stampede occurs. These are all recognised disturbance, but they're all recognised disturbance until the seals reach the water. And then there is an idea that disturbance cannot occur in the water. It is only something that occurs on land. So next slide. So a less considered impact of recreational activity is how it impacts on seals in the water. Once seals are flushed from a haul out, which, you know, in the case of someone coming too close and the seals are flushed, they are then in the water. They're no longer on the land, they're in the water. Or as the incoming tide transfers them from their terrestrial habitat to their aquatic environment, they are then subjected to a whole new type of disturbance. And where the change of the seal's behaviour is obvious and it is intense. So seals in the water naturally investigate the disturbance source. Even if the disturbance source is in the water, which has caused them to flush from the sea, from the rocks, they will then go and investigate. It is just what seals do. It's part of their natural, you know, their I guess it's how they keep themselves safe, by knowing what is in the water with them. So the seals will become more and more vigilant, paying attention to the humans in the vicinity. I think we've probably all seen this sort of, if we observe haul outs, we've probably all seen this. Many of the seals will start to do crash diving, which is when they become more threatened, and this is a threat, a warning. It's a threat to the disturbance source to move away. It's associated with quite high levels of anxiety when a seal is doing this. And many of these seals will be driven away from this habitat that they were using prior to this, which, if you look at it, that is level 1, level 2 and level 3 disturbance, which is all occurring in the water.
Sal, I'm going to have to interrupt you there, hun, because you've had your time. I'm ever so
sorry.
Right,
okay.
Got anything to add? Any final sentences? I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. Well, the last thing that we've got really is that we are now trying to introduce, in the same way that we got introduced our wildlife refuge for land-based disturbance, we are now trying to introduce an equivalent in the aquatic sort of element of a haul out, and we are hoping that that will reduce and ultimately eliminate water-based disturbance on our haul out.
Very important work, Sal. Very well done, hun. Excellent presentation. Jenny, over to you from Friends of Horsey Seals. You can unmute and then you'll be able to speak.
Hello, Sue. Can you hear me okay? Good. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Hobson, a member of Friends of Horsey Seals and initiator of the Flying Rings campaign. I'm covering for Sally, who is unable to be here, unfortunately, this evening. So I'll just do my best to give an update on this year and include the campaign. This is a map showing the area we cover. The main haul-out area for seals stretches from Waxham down to Winterton, and there's Horsey in between those two, though the colony is gradually spreading both north and southwards. The area we cover in terms of seal rescue is bigger, from Munsley right at the top down to Caister, which is just north of Great Yarmouth. As for all the groups, our aim is to enable the grey seal colony to thrive, and also the harbour seals who visit, by protecting them from disturbance and injury. And the main haul-out times are obviously the grey seal pupping season, which for us is getting underway now, and the molt, which takes us through to May, though we do have numbers of seals swimming off the beaches and hauling out all through the summer. You can see the number of pups that we had born last year, so that's an indication of the number of adult seals that we have. Our ropes are now in place, so the main entrance to Horsey Beach is roped off, and we direct people up onto the dunes behind the beach. And we find if people stay up there, they're not disturbing the seals. Seal mums and pups do regularly, though, come up above the beach too. So we have to move our rope paths to try and work around them. During the winter, people and their dogs generally keep off the beach. It's an advisory ban, but not always. And during the summer, we do have real problems with disturbance. And the main disturbance is people just getting too close, dogs off leads, and taking pictures of selfies of seals too close. Our wardening numbers have blossomed to over 300, which might seem a lot, but on a busy day, we can have 60 wardens in 3 shifts to cover. And over the season, we have well over 80,000 visitors to the beaches. The wardens talk to people, telling them all about the seals and why it is so important to keep a distance from them. They also monitor any pups and seals who may be sick, injured, or abandoned, and where necessary and where possible, rescue them. If a seal or a pup needs ongoing care, they're taken to the RSPCA East Winch Wildlife Centre, where I also volunteer. And the rescues continue all year round. At the end of the busy season, wardens get together for a well-earned celebration, which you can see there. And Sally had just sent an update on our numbers of pups, which are just over 500 this week. Thanks, Sue. So these images give an idea of some of our rescues. We have a dedicated rescue team which is active all year round. And we were very glad to get this second rescue vehicle, which is a 2-year-old Ford Ranger, with the help of a local builder who sold it to us at a very fair cost, and funding helped by the Chapman Trust. So now we have 2 vehicles based at different parts of the area, so we can get to rescue a seal much more quickly. We've had quite a few seals caught in rocks, and you can see this young grey seal completely stuck. The tide was coming in and the team were really struggling to get access to the seal, and there was only room for 1 person. And in the end, when the tide was coming in, it was Sally who managed to get to the seal and take it out to safety. In the bottom right, you can see we have many seals that are entangled in netting, fishing line, you know, the normal things, and flying rings and ringed objects. And this adult female seal, later named Cruella, we managed to rescue, and her wounds were so severe she did need care and was taken to East Winch. And you can imagine, and a lot of you know, that's not an easy task with a big adult seal. Thankfully, she has recovered and was eventually released later in the summer. Some seals we can untangle and release in situ if the wounds are not so serious or the seal seriously depleted. And the rescue numbers include a number of orphaned or injured pups. Thanks, Sue. So going on to the Flying Ring campaign, an update of that. And we've already had some fantastic examples from Gareth. These are some of the highlights of the year. In April, Sailing for Seals was published, giving an account of the incredible sailing trip I did last year around the country, promoting the campaign in the ports we visited. And 50% of the profits of the book are pledged to Friends of Horsey Seals and RSPCA East Winch. So please do get one from Waterstones or the normal sort of ebook places, kobo.com, iTunes, Amazon. Hilda, one of our committee members, runs our mobile education unit. It's a fantastic unit with loads of information, including threats of disturbance and flying rings. And in the winter, it is based at Horsey Beach car park, so gets lots and lots of visitors there. And in the summer, it's taken to visit local events. Our committee launched the swapping scheme this year, whereby wardens can not only talk to people about the danger of plastic flying rings, but offer to swap them for a seal-safe solid frisbee, which is one of the messages really being put across by Cornwall Seal Group, Seal Research Trust. And on the 1st of November, I received a Points of Light award from the Prime Minister, presented, thank you, Sue, by the local MP for West Norfolk, who's James Wild in the picture. And this was at RSPCA East Winch. You can just see one of the deep pools behind. It was really fortuitous, if sad, that James was able to see the seal Hades and the horrendous injuries he has from being caught in a flying ring, as he had been saved by the rescue team in September and was there in an outside pool. And there's a picture on a later slide. Thanks, Sue. During the year, the campaign has had a massive boost from the Seal Alliance. So thank you to all the groups contributing here and all of the groups. We've featured it in the Week of Action. And not only the SEAL groups, but also British divers campaigned across the country, raising awareness at local events, talking to shops and urging them to stop selling flying rings and simply to stop solid seal-safe frisbees instead. These are just a few of the successes. And you can see some of the big chains have stopped, and I've missed out. Tesco's was another one. And Gareth gave some other fantastic examples and getting in touch with Network Rail as well. Thanks, Sue.
Got about 30 seconds, Sal.
Okay.
Jenny, sorry, hun.
Okay. So there's been great support from the councils, and you can see the ban on flying rings in King's Lynn. Okay, Sue. And these are the pictures of the seals still entangled, and that is Hades. And I think it's important that it's only when the rings are removed that you can see the extent of the injuries. Thanks, Sue. And this is the last slide. So lots of challenges, thousands of these rings still being produced in the shops. So we're approaching it on different angles, urging shops not to sell them, going for more signage and bans of use, and a new petition next year. So we will be asking everybody if you could possibly support that next year. And if you want any more information or to help the campaign, please get in touch with me through inquiries at friendsofhorseyseals.co.uk and look at the fantastic resources on SRT website. One more slide, Sue.
Lovely, thank you very much. Well done, Jenny. Over to you, Di, at Norfolk Seal Group.
Thank you. We're going to stay on that slide for a little while because I want to talk first of all about one of the biggest threats to seals and wildlife in Norfolk that the wildlife is going to face, in my opinion, and that is the wash barrier. So for those of you who don't know, there is a proposal to create a wash barrier from, we believe, Holme Dunes, which is a Norfolk Wildlife Trust nature reserve, over to Gibraltar Point. And this is opposed by Norfolk Wildlife Trust, the RSPB, Lincolnshire Wildlife Trust, Wildfowl and Wetland Trust and Wild Ken Hill. They've released a statement saying that this proposal would fundamentally alter the nature of the intertidal habitats on which the wildlife depends. The proposer of this plan, Mr. James Sutcliffe from Centre Port, has actually claimed publicly that his barrier has the support of the RSPB and of the Lincolnshire Wildlife Trust, but he has now been rebuked publicly in meetings by representatives of those organisations for doing so. So the Wash is an internationally recognised bird reserve. It's home to lots of marine wildlife, as well as the seals. We've had octopus there, we've had cuttlefish, we've even had ocean sunfish there, and is an amazing bird spectacle. And I was told today that someone had come up from Devon to see the Snettisham Bird Spectacular. I have massive campaign concerns about this project. The Norfolk coast is well known for erosion, and their argument being used is that this barrier will prevent flooding. As well as the barrier, it comes with a container port, which apparently is going to be one of the largest in the UK. And at the public meeting a couple of weeks ago, this container port seems to be the company's priority. I think that the claim that this is going to produce green energy and flood prevention is basic greenwashing. So I think it's a case of watch this space, and we will be ready to campaign on that issue as soon as we get more information on that, really. So going back to the Norfolk Seal project, we were set up to campaign on seal disturbance issues, flying rings, litter pollution on our beaches. We've distributed hundreds, if not thousands, of leaflets across Norfolk, held educational stalls at village fetes and other events. Can I have my next slide, please, Sue? So this is what we go out and do. A lot of what we do is fundraising for East Winch Wildlife Rescue, where our rescued seals go. But we do take out the posters, and that cuddly seal there, just to let you know that cuddly seal there is about 38 years old and came from Cornwall Seal Sanctuary, believe it or not. So he now goes on tour with a flying ring around his neck just to highlight the issue. And the next one, Sue. Thank you. This was an event, that's my long-suffering husband there. This was an event that we did at Westwood Beach with the Norfolk Wildlife Trust, and we're getting more and more invitations like this now to take the message out. This was a really good one because so many people with dogs and children came up to us and said that they had no idea about the Flying Ring campaign and how dangerous flying rings were. So we've always got photographs on the beach, thanks to the Horsey, Friends of Horsey Seals. So we've already got bookings for those stalls next year as well. Next one, Sue. I thought I'd add a couple of nice photographs in of some rescues that I've done this year. I am a British Divers Marine Life medic, have been for a few years now. Work does tend to get in the way, but these were my first two harbour seal pups that were picked up this year, side by side on the beach at Snettisham. Both of them weighing in at 9.8 kilos each, and both of them went off to East Winch for tender loving care and fattening up, and both of these have been released. And then the next one, Sue. This one, photograph courtesy of East Winch. This one is Cowslip, and she came from Wells last month, and she was only 12 kilos in October. And so she's down at East Winch now and won't be released for a little while because she's still putting weight on. Next one, Sue. One thing I've wanted to do for a long time and finally got the chance this year was to go to Essex to see the red seals. So this red coloration is because of iron oxide particles in the mud that they slide around in, and you can go out on boat trips to see these seals. What I found really interesting this year was how good they looked, because I've actually been sent photographs in the past of these seals with what looked like chemical burns on them. And there is actually a factory literally yards away from where these seals fall out that is a chemical factory. But this year we didn't see any affected with skin lesions. They all looked really nice and healthy. And next one, Sue. And slight diversion from seals just for a moment, but I think it is really relevant for marine issues. When we moved to Snettisham, and it's been nearly 9 years now, I started doing egg case hunts for the Shark Trust, and I was picking up 300 to 400 a time, which would be in an hour of me walking up and down on Snettisham Beach. And now I'm lucky to get into double figures. There's a reason, we don't know why. We are totally mystified as to why I could pick up 300 to 400 egg cases years ago, and now, like today, I've picked up 5. So if anybody is spending time on the beach and you are able to do some egg case collecting. The Great Egg Case Hunt is a project of the Shark Trust, and I would urge anyone who spends time on the beach to get involved, because it's well worth looking into what is going on with the sharks and the skates in the UK, and whether that will eventually start causing problems with our other marine life. And that's me finished.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much. That was really interesting. Thank you. You've got lots of really interesting points to share. Okay, over to Niamh and Matt from Yorkshire Seal Group. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear us, Sue?
I can just about hear you. Yes. Yeah, fire away.
Perfect. Thanks for having us, everyone, and thanks for staying tuned this long. So myself and Niamh are now entering our 5th year with the Yorkshire Seal Group. The Yorkshire Seal Group started in response to a lot of the welfare call-outs to seals we had on the Yorkshire coast. We predominantly deal with seals between the Humber and Tees estuary, and we were noticing that rather than being reactive, we want to be proactive. A lot of the causality for the injuries the seals had, lacerations to their bellies following severe disturbance events, and also maternal separations. So myself and Niamh have been both rescuers, rehabilitators, and researchers of seals. So we decided to put our skills to good effect and form the Yorkshire Seal Group. We have an amazing team now behind us who work towards those aims. We've diversified a little bit now into education and research, and we'll cover those topics as well.
So even though myself and Matt are presenting today, and we're the co-founders of Yorkshire Seal, Yorkshire Seal Group wouldn't have achieved what we have achieved over the past few years without our network of volunteers. So volunteers are basically run the Yorkshire Seal Group, and we wanted to spread our thank you for some of that here. So maybe we'll try stuff on video and see if that comes up.
I don't know what's happening, but the sound is very noisy. So there's a lot of background sound along with you, as well as your voices. It's making it quite hard to hear, but carry on and let's see how we go. And if it doesn't improve, I'll stop you again. Sorry, guys.
Okay, no, that's all right. So yeah, basically volunteers are at the forefront of what we do. I just wanted to say a massive thank you for everything that they've done for us over the past couple of years as well. And we are also basically going to present what they have achieved, what we've achieved as to seal conservation and seal welfare along the Yorkshire coast.
Niamh, I'm ever so sorry, but it's really hard to hear you, so I'm going to stop you. I don't know, I can come back to you if you're able to do anything different, but if not, I can show people your slides. But I think if you could just say a few tiny words about each slide, they might actually be able to hear it and then get some sense from what you're saying. I'm ever so sorry.
Let me try mix them up and let that.
Yeah, we're really struggling.
So protecting seals is what we initially set up to do, and stewarding the seal populations along the Yorkshire coast. We've got 3 main sites that we work across, 1 primary site and 2 satellite sites, which we try and attend as much as possible. We engage with the public, which is obviously one of the harder things to do. Some of the groups on here do public engagement, some do it remotely. We are very much engaging with everyone that passes by, trying to have best practice for seals, trying to reduce some of the seal mortality we have on sites. We work on education and engagement, so a lot of our volunteers are DBS cleared, and they are delivering curriculum-linked education in primary schools, secondary schools, and extracurricular groups as well. And then we also work on data collection and research. That could be tag seals, monitoring, pupping, and generally spatial movements of the seals. So we have tag seals moving through and trying to work out the health of the seal colonies. Next slide, Stu, can you hear me? So each year we typically engage with about 15,000 to 20,000 people. This is excluding our education figures. If it's too bad, Sue, just stop it.
I don't know. We've only had. Okay, somebody said very bad still. I'm sorry. We probably do need to stop it, but we'll include your presentation in the one that we share, and then you will be able to add any comments you wish. Okay, thanks, Matt and Niamh. I'm really sorry, but as you can see, they do an awful lot. They focus a lot on disturbance, and they have disturbance from lots of different lots of different sources, and they take action on these. Got a very high pup mortality, which is what you can see from these figures here. So 2021, 60%, 50% 2022, and a lower than average weaned rate with underweight mothers. So this is a pre-weaned pup here in the photo. They've got lots of issues to do with health and safety and climate change and erosion on the site. And they do lots of fundraising. Of course, we all have to do fundraising and have a great team to do that. And you can see the variety of events that they cover. Apologies, I'm not going to be doing this justice for you guys. You have a new charity shop that is fundraising for you in Scarborough, I believe, which is really excellent. That's great. Matt and Niamh, feel free to type stuff in the chat. That would be a good idea. You've also been working on the Flying Ring campaign, which is hugely appreciated. Thank you very much. And done some fabulous artwork on the beach about flying rings, and also about, I love that one on the right, the only cure for litter is you. Photo taken from the cliff edge. Well done. Really fantastic. And thank you very much to Fred Bam for working on that. Lots of education and outreach, as you can see, with youngsters, with stakeholder groups, and face-to-face talks and presentations, which is excellent. And then what's next? Expand volunteer numbers, potentially look into a pathway closure, which would make a huge difference, I'm sure. Divert the public right of way and work with British Divers Marine Life Rescue to continue doing rescues. And thanks very much. And I'm absolutely gutted we couldn't hear you properly. I'm so sorry, because you have such a lot of really valuable stuff to contribute. So thanks very much for all that you do. You two are amazing. Okay, on to David Vyse from East Winch. David, over to you.
Yes, good evening, Sue. Good evening, everybody. And just might take this opportunity of thanking you for all you've done in keeping the Seal Group together. Absolutely fantastic, Sue. That's brilliant. I'm David Vyse. I used to be parts of the Seal Rescue on the Norfolk coast, doing that for 12.5 years. And I've now retired from that and go to the RSPCA 1 day a week, or perhaps more, and mainly deal with the seals. And I just wanted to just tell you what this is, the other end of the scope. When the seals are rescued on the beach, they're brought to the RSPCA. And last year, just out for information, 2022, they had 80 common seals brought in and 101 grey seals. So it's quite a lot. But so far this year, up to the present day, up until yesterday, actually, we've got 72 common seals been brought in and 84 grey seals. So we're going to exceed the target for last year, without a doubt. Most of the animals they've got at the RSPCA are mainly worked with seals. They take in 3,000 other animals a year. That's including birds, otters, batters, every other animal. But the seals take up an awful lot of time. If you've got a baby pup in there, it has to be fed 4 times a day, tube fed, and with the staff and with the amount of seals we get in there, it's quite a bit. Could you go on to the next one, please, Sue?
Okay.
Okay, Sue. Thanks a lot. This is Haddies. This is the one you saw last meeting. This is the one that's brought in from the Norfolk coast, badly injured. He was having 2 salt baths a day. He's in the outside pool, and in the last couple of weeks, or the last week, has been moved to the swan pool. They have a large swan pool at East Winch, where obviously there's no swans in there at the moment, and he's got it to himself, and he's improving, putting on weight tremendously. Absolutely beautiful. The number of just to tell people really the space they've got at East Winch for all the seals. Firstly, when they come in, they go into isolation. And there's about 30 spaces there, depending on what's there. Then from there, after improvement, they go into intermediates. And there's about 18 spaces in there for seals. And when they've moved out of there, when improving, they then go into the outside pools, and that could be up to 20 seals outside. So that's quite a lot of seals in one particular unit. So their main category is looking after the seals at East Winch. Can we go to the next one, please, Sue?
Sorry.
That's lovely. This is Haddies. You can see the seal mark, where the ring went round his neck. It's now healing. He's eating, putting on weight. So that's a success. That's a success story for the ring seals. And I think the horrific side of it is awful. Next one, please. Now, this is this the movable one? Is this the video? Is it?
Yeah.
Hasn't gone yet. That's lovely. I think this is one of Vicky's seals. This is it's a bit slow, but that's fine. This is the one that's come into East Winch. That goes into the isolation pool where they are now, and fattened up, and then moved on. But I think you'll see that, Vicky. Next one, please.
How can you resist those eyes?
They're lovely, aren't they? Yes. Yeah. Now, this is a release of about a week ago. This is 5 of the common seals being released. They're taken to Sutton Bridge on the riverbank there, which is close to the wash. They're released. There were 10 released on that day, all very successful. And I think by everybody bringing in the seals, it's a horror to see. But this is the epitome of it all. Absolutely beautiful to see them disappear into the river and go back.
I love the fact that they have a slide into the river. If only it was that easy in Cornwall.
They're a bit indecisive at first, but because it's muddy, they just slide and they can't go back, so they're in. That was a video, I think, Sue,
yes,
wasn't it?
Yes, it was playing as a video for me, but you might not have seen it. Sorry, David.
Lovely. Oh, lovely. Oh, it was playing for you. Oh, it's just for me, is it? Right, that's fine. But just to tell everybody, really, that it's just at East Winch alone for these seals. I think it's one of the biggest seal rehabilitation places in the country. They have a pallet with mackerel on, 45 boxes, and £32 a box. And last year's cost of the fish came to £78,000. So it's quite a lot. That's not vet fees. It's not anything else. It's not people's time. That's the sole cost of the fish. If anybody's bringing in a seal, I know from the other groups, they say there might not be spaces there. Could be spaces, but there's just not enough staff to feed them. When you've got, say, about 20 seals to pipe feed or tube feed, we just haven't got the time. It's four feeds a day, mixing up the food. So that's another thing. I've now helped out at the RSPCA for about 7 or 8 years, and I'm now taken over, starting to do the talks to the public, Rotary clubs, schools. So that's a new innovation. But I think that's all I've got to say really for East Winch. But thank you very much indeed, and also to all the other seal groups that bring in the seals to East Winch. They come from all over the country, sometimes from Lincolnshire all the way down. So that's all for me. Thank you, Sue. It's very short but sweet, but I hope it's educated the people a bit more.
Yes, I'm sure it has. And I was just going to finish and show you some resources for everyone that you can have free access to if you wish. We're just about to release this Enjoy, Respect, Protect Our Seals leaflet, which has been a Seal Alliance leaflet, but I'm delighted to say that DEFRA have endorsed it, which is really excellent. And it's a A3 foldable. It's got information about disturbance and enjoying, respecting and protecting our seals, and it's got key information for all the different user groups, including information about seals during the pupping and the molting season. If you want copies, they're free. You just need to email seals@cornwallsealgroup.co.uk. It's written on the side here, and you will be able to get them posted to you. So we're happy to do that if you can disseminate them. And I'm pleased to say we're just about to go for another print run. So anyone who would like to be added to the print run for this and have their logos added to the print run, we can get that done as well. We're going to have 1,000, I think, for each of these different organisations. This is our paddle sports sticker. So if you want copies of those, you just need to email us and tell me how many you want. Okay, a roundup. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment. We've had some incredibly important messages given to us by all these speakers, and I want to run through them. But before I do, in case you have to go, I just want to say that this talk will be on YouTube, but it will be on the Cornwall Seal Group Research Trust YouTube site because the Seal Alliance doesn't have one. We will put it on our social media, and I'm sure all the groups that have taken part will also put a link on their social media about it. So it's Cornwall Seal Group Research Trust YouTube site. There will be a link to this presentation on that YouTube site. And there will be some of these key insights that I'm just about to give you and share with you also on the YouTube site in the text. Okay, so to try and summarize and make sense of what we've all been saying, there are lots of common themes. Basically, it's a lot about engagement, and it's engagement with the public, stakeholders, landowners, other partners, the media. Those are all key people that we need to engage with. And if we can engage with all of those groups, then we will be more effective. We have inspiring resources, all of us. And you saw from Nina, Kent Wildlife Trust Resources, it was those that inspired the Seal Alliance to create a one-stop shop leaflet, enjoy, respect, protect for everyone else. So well done, Nina, for inspiring us to do that. It's about taking advantage of opportunities as they present themselves. So Gareth had somebody sat next to him at a meeting, and from that he's got signs put up at all the coastal railway stations. That is incredible. So he saw that opportunity and he took that opportunity and maxed it out. It's also about data collection, because without data we don't have any evidence and people don't want to listen to us. I love Sal's description of balance. It is so about balance. It's about access to nature, which we all need, but it's about our enjoyment as well as what wildlife needs. And in order to achieve that balance, we need to think about the land and the sea. Sal made that point really, really well. And voluntary protection is not enough. We do also need some legal protection as well. And how do we achieve that balance? Well, it's through raising awareness, managing people. We don't like being managed, do we? But we need to manage people. And it's also making a difference through rescue and rehab. Those are all key elements to achieve that overall balance. We all totally rely on volunteers. Aren't our volunteers amazing? Can we just all do a clap for all of our incredible volunteers? Where would we be without them? Di implicated how important it is for us to also input to planning consultations. We've done that with our carbon dioxide removal scheme. Di and all the East Coast people will be doing it for that barrage. So we need to think about big scale stuff, the planning consultations. Don't we all have long-suffering partners? I thought that was worth saying. Oh, yes, we do. And I love the fact that many of our groups don't just look at seals. They look at the bigger picture. You know, they're concerned about birds, they're concerned about habitat. They look at they look in a holistic way at what they're doing, because they want to protect the marine environment. We won't have any seals without a protected marine environment. So I find that very inspiring. It's not just about seals. And if we don't have a great environment, we won't have a future either. So that's why we need to do it. So I really feel like we've covered a huge range of things, but between us, we've made all those critical points. And I just find it a complete, utter honour to be part of this group, to be able to lead this team. You know, it's very easy organising this event. I say who's speaking and they do their presentation and they turn up and do it, and then you get to listen. So thank you very much to everyone. We've had about 58 people sign up, different people in total, which is really great. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm willing to stay on, and I'm sure our speakers are. If you need to go, we will completely understand. But if you would like to ask a question, we'll do it for another 10 minutes max, okay? But if you want to ask a question, please do shove your hand up. I hope Zoom will help me see you. But if not, then please do unmute and speak. Anybody want to go first? Even our speakers can ask questions. And believe me, there is no such thing as a silly question. Every question is useful. I can see John nodding. That's great. And thank you very much for your comments in the chat. You can also put questions in the chat as well. Glad you enjoyed the presentations. Anyone going to be brave enough to... oh, yes. OK, so Tracy White, off you go. Unmute and off you go.
Oh, hello. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed listening to all the speakers today. That was brilliant. I just wanted to ask if there were any resources that I could use when I'm on Facebook and I see people posting their fantastic pictures of seals. And I don't like to assume how close they are, but I just wanted something to add to their lovely photos to encourage everybody to be aware of keeping their distance.
Okay, so I think we've all got resources for that. And I think we all tend to respond to social media. I'm going to put our email address in the chat, because if you contact cornwallsealgroup.co.uk, we can make sure that we send out some wording. So we have key wording that our volunteers edit slightly depending on the post.
Right.
Enables us to speak nicely and kindly and sensitively to get a good response.
Yes.
Because
Lovely.
anyone who gets told what to do, their immediate response is defensive, and we don't want that. So yes, we do have some resources, and yes, we'd be happy to share them. You just need to email us, Tracy. Thank you.
Lovely. That's great. Thank you very much.
The other thing is, if the seal is looking directly at the camera, there is a really good chance it knew the camera was there and it was disturbed, no matter how far away the camera was. There are always exceptions to that rule.
Yes.
We use, I mean, John said he used a 200mm lens. He doesn't. He uses a 2000mm lens, don't you, John? And I use a 3000mm lens. And sometimes the seal will look like it's looking at the camera as it's glancing round. But if a seal's looking at the camera, there's a good chance it knew it was there. So we try not to use photos of the seal looking at the camera.
Brilliant. Many thanks. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. Claire, you're next.
Well, hi Sue, and thank you to everybody tonight. Absolutely brilliant. Always worth sitting here for, while you're having your dinner and listening and learning more and more. I'm down in Seaford and down in East Sussex. Volunteer for BDMLR, SDP. I do a lot of beach cleaning, but this year we became owners of a little motorboat and a little powerboat. So we've got it moored down in Newhaven Marina. I try and encourage where I can on our local Facebooks. We're very lucky. We've got seals, we've got porpoises, we've got dolphins, but we don't have, like you've mentioned most of the evening, about all the mass seals with the haul outs, with the issues that everybody may cause or may not cause. But what can I do? I'm more than happy to approach the local Newhaven Marina. But I'm just wondering, we don't have the scale that you have, but we still have such marine life down here that obviously I'm desperately trying to protect in all areas.
I'm going to point to Sal for this one. Sal, are you up for answering that? Because the key thing for you to remember, Claire, is we all started as one. It was just one of us to start with, and then somehow it expanded. Sal, do you want to say something about that? Oh, that's it.
Yeah, okay. I've unmuted myself. Sorry, I wasn't expecting to.
Oh, sorry, hon. Well, I'm happy to answer it if you want. I mean, basically, if you don't have, oh, now my brain's gone dead. Isn't it? Gareth, do you want to come in?
We'll go around everybody.
Claire, listen, just repeat really quickly what your question was.
Okay, my question is, we don't have the mass that you've all been talking about, yeah? So how do I protect what we have on a much smaller scale?
Yes, okay, Sal. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't think it matters how many of whatever you have. The important thing is that you probably are, the wildlife that you do have is probably sharing its habitat with human activity. I would say that really the best thing you can do, if it is a site that you regularly use yourself, is just get yourself out there and start talking to people about what's there. It doesn't necessarily have to be in any formal way. It can just be quite informally. I think face-to-face engagement really is probably the first step, and you'll find quite quickly that it won't just be you, that you'll have other people that agree with your crazy ideas as well.
I don't mind being called crazy. I suppose what I'm interested in is any literature that maybe isn't on such a scale that Sue has spoken about. Whether there is something like that, whether we can lower it down to that it just shows individual marine life rather than the mass that that you've spoke about the whole evening.
Well, the Seal Alliance leaflet, the original Seal Alliance leaflet, is very much aimed at people coming across individual seals, really. So I would say, and the wording on there, it took although it's quite simple and not a lot of it, it took an awful long time to agree on it.
Okay, so well, I'll send it to the local marina then. Yeah,
I would try and extract some of those statements in there, and maybe and try and get that leaflet around, because it it's nice on a really sort of basic level, and it isn't about large amounts of seals. It is about individual seals as well.
And Claire, if you email us, we can send you free copies of that leaflet. You just need to tell us how many you need. Be that 10, 100, 500, I don't know. You just tell me how many you want and we can send them to you. Thank you, Sal, for that. Well done.
Thank you.
Anyone else got a question that they would like to ask? You don't need to put your hand up. You can just unmute. Because I can
Sue, can
yes, Gareth.
I just say something a sec? Claire, I just wanted to reply to Claire in one respect, is that when I started off, and Sue hit the nail on the head earlier on, you start off with one person usually, and that's where it sort of starts. One of the things that I was really surprised about is how many people are interested in the seal population. It's huge. All you're actually doing, Claire, is you feeding the information that people require. You know, they love to hear about seals, etc. And I started off really with like a Facebook group, and it sort of went from there. And you know, we've got over 2,500 sort of followers now. But once you get out there, and like Sal said, start talking to people as well, and then you start to get a bit of a core group together. You start to work out your strategies and you know, giving presentations and things, and it'll just start to sort of snowball. The main thing is really just keeping that momentum up and use the resources, because Sue in the Seal Research Trust has got some absolutely incredible resources, like she has put in the chat there, you know, even how to speak to the public as well. You know, it's not teaching you to suck eggs, but these little things actually can actually sort of help at the end of the day. Is that useful, Claire?
Yeah, very. Yeah, like I say, I'm not scared of going to speak to anybody. I think
that's fantastic.
I think I know more people in Seaford in 3 years than a lot of people in 50 years down here.
Oh, brilliant.
Connections with RNLI, NCI, we volunteer for all of those as well. So it was just more the literature of going in with, you know, and sending that out and whatever. But no.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that I did was to train really with Sue's help some local seal ambassadors as well. So you formalise it a little bit more, you know. And you know, we designed a logo, so there is that sort of identity there as well. So just one quick thing I want to mention, something that John Arnott said earlier on, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I wrote it down here. He said that he involves the tour operators in disturbance recording. And I think this is one thing, and you mentioned it earlier, Sue, about looking at opportunities and creating opportunities as well. Get the problem to be part of the solution. If there's a problem there, like I said, you know, just turn it around in his head and use that problem to be part of that solution there. And, you know, there are ways of actually doing it there. And I think that John has hit the nail on the head earlier on when he said about the tour operators. But if you start looking at lots of problems that we do, and I certainly do it here, and I look at that problem, try and break it down, and then find a solution and get that problem to be part of that solution. That's all I wanted to add.
I will add that to our key findings. Claire, I was just going to add something to that. You've got partners that you work with. Get the partners to help share the leaflets for you. That's key. And the second thing is beware for this to take over your life. Warning.
I don't mind that. It's pretty much taken most of it anyway. I'd give up work tomorrow and do this full time, but somebody's got to pay the bills. So
yeah, we've all been there, done that, got that t-shirt. But the second thing is, if you do set up a Facebook group, please be very careful. There are exceptional areas, but please be very careful to not name sensitive seal sites online, because all you do is drive the problem up and make it worse, because more people find out exactly where they should be going, and then they go, and then disturbance gets worse. We're not trying to stop people going to see seals. We're just saying actually publicising it online is often not helpful.
We're actually lucky we don't have that in Seaford. We have the odd few dotted around that just pop up and swim with the mermaids, i.e. the local swimmers, but we don't actually have so much. You know, our nearest one is along the coast where they have a little colony, but in Seaford we don't, but we are getting more and more jet bites going out. You know, hands up, I've got a little boat, but I go out and I do all the writing. If I see anything, I will then report it as a citizen science. So all of that. But yes, it's just, you know, I know what to do. I think it was just having the literature to go in with them.
Another classic resource we have is what to do when you have a chance encounter with a seal in the water for your swimmers. Absolutely vital information. Right, one more question. Anybody going to chip in? Thanks, Claire.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Niamh.
Hello there. I've actually got a question about, well, mainly I love what you do with the seals, but what Diane mentioned in her talk about the shark egg cases, because we're based on the Isle of Wight, and we've been collecting a lot of shark egg cases down here as well, and we're wondering whether there is a connection between the shark egg cases disappearing, and maybe that might be now affecting the larger big marine mammals, because if something's affecting the sharks and possibly some of the seals might actually be feeding on the sharks as a bit of the shark pups, there might be a link between why one is becoming not now well less active in the area.
Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you, Niamh, for sharing that. And as we are interested in the bigger picture, John, I don't know if you've seen in the chats, there are some people who might be interested in your contact details if you're willing to share them. But
yeah,
okay.
I'll just check that out. Thanks.
Okay, no worries. All right then, everybody, I'm going to say good night. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry we went over, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Bye, everyone. Lovely to see you all. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
you.